The Real Matrix. For the next 60 minutes, I'd like you to willingly suspend your skepticism of new ideas. However, what I'm about to tell you is in no way a new idea. What if I told you that you're a liar? What if I told you that your family, your closest friends, and even you have no idea who you really are? More than that, what if I told you you don't know what you are? If you did, everything that you've ever wanted for yourself in your life would be at your disposal. What is the Matrix? If you're like most people, you have the misconception that you are the image you see in the mirror. You may also believe that it's possible for someone to hurt your feelings, that guilt and worry are normal emotions, and that your past is indicative of what your future will be. Are you the kind of person that holds a grudge? If so, sit back and listen, because it's all about to change. Before you can understand what you are, you need to take a close look at what you've been taught. Most of us grow up to believe that we are what we do, and we are what we have. Our modern society has taught us that we are smart or we are stupid based on our school grades. The same society has taught us that winning is the most important part of a game, that the more possessions you have, the more successful you are. Modern medicine has taught us that we need health insurance and drugs in order to survive. Our education system teaches us that children have learning problems and need to repeat the first grade when that child is not on the same learning level as the rest of the children in his class. Religion has taught us that we need to beg for forgiveness and that we are only worthy of love if we profess our loyalty to our God. Our own experience has taught us that everyone is out to get us, to trust nobody, and that there's never enough money in our accounts. Our media teaches us that rainy weather is a bad thing, to brace for the rising price of oil, and only days later, that the falling price of oil is a bad thing. Our popular magazines teach us that a particular actress is a rising star, and then 6 months later they tell us that the same rising star is a drug addict and a disgrace to her fans. And then 6 months later, they portray her as a saint and a successful actress. Our social media has taught us that it's okay to gossip about other people, and that by posting carefully selected selfie photos, we can fool people into believing we are happy, rich, beautiful, and content in life. With all of these misconceptions and lies, how could anyone expect to feel good about anything, and more importantly, themselves? Many years ago, I sat in a lecture by Wayne Dyer, and he told this story. He said, "A little girl sits in her classroom while her teacher stands at the front of the class. The teacher is holding an orange in his hand, and he asks the girl, 'If I squeeze this orange, what will come out?' The little girl replies, 'Orange juice, that was easy.' The teacher agrees and asks, 'Why does orange juice come out when I squeeze this orange?' And the little girl quickly replies, 'Because that's what is inside.' The little girl is correct. Now, let's expand that example, and I ask you, what happens when someone squeezes you? What comes out of you is what you're holding inside. Among other things, it could be fear, anger, jealousy, or sadness. We see this every day when people react to what we say or do. We see this in ourselves, and until now, we haven't taken the time to figure out exactly why. Let's examine this. A man is 30 years old. He's a college graduate. He's married with children and earns a comfortable living as an attorney. He drives nice cars, wears nice clothing, and seems to have his life together. People are envious of his life. In front of other people, he's an outgoing guy and he seems happy. But on the inside, he is constantly battling depression, thoughts of suicide, constant stress headaches, and his mind races all day and night, preventing him from sleeping well. So, like many others, he stops at the local pub for a few drinks on his way home to unwind. He suddenly feels better. For a short while, his headache is gone. His worries seem to disappear, and his mind slows down. When he gets home, the numbing effects of the alcohol subside, and his headache reappears, and his worries begin to dominate his thoughts once again. The pain is getting so bad that he goes to his doctor. His doctor listens carefully to his symptoms and tells him, "You are suffering from depression. Here are some pills that will make you feel better again." The man takes the pills, and they seem to slow his racing mind down. But they also make him tired, and they completely slow down his sex drive. So he visits his doctor, and his doctor carefully listens once again to his symptoms. His doctor tells him, "You are suffering from erectile dysfunction. Here are some pills." So he takes the new pills, and they artificially cure his erectile dysfunction. Only problem with that is, while he can now physically have sex, emotionally, he is still drained and not interested. As time goes by, he becomes addicted to the pills that slow his mind down, and that leads him to rely on the pills that artificially cure his erectile dysfunction. This only puts the man into a deeper depression. So deep that his wife and kids are too much for him to handle. He is easily set off into fits of rage when he can't find his car keys, and every little thing makes him angry. How did this man's life get so out of control? The answer is simple, but getting you to believe it may not be. The answer is, he is causing all of his suffering. He is causing his mind to race, his muscles to be tense, leading to a headache, and his depression is a result of him thinking the same self-defeating thoughts over and over again, and then believing them. Let's take a journey into this man's day. It's 6 a.m. when an obnoxious screeching alarm sounds to awaken him. He jumps up, abruptly, out of a sound sleep, putting his body into an immediate fight or flight mode. His heart pounds for a few minutes until his body readjusts to realize that there is no threat to his life. Before he gets out of bed, he reaches over for his phone. As he turns it on, he dreads each and every missed email and text that have been waiting all night to bring a certain anxiety to his morning. He sifts through emailed complaints from clients, impossible deadlines from his boss, and spam emails from drug companies trying to sell him weight loss products, featuring a muscle-bound, photoshopped image of a man he wishes to be once again. He opens his social media page, only to see that his digital friends are in an argument over an event that someone posted from the news. He reads as the comments start off with friendly opinions and commentary, and without missing a beat, someone pours their poison into the comment thread, thereby infecting the conversation with hatred and low energy. He reads as civilized men and women curse each other and as people take sides. Soon the comment thread has nothing to do with the original story. Just when he's had enough of the nonsense on his phone, he turns on the news. He watches as the news station announces with carefully designed music and graphic work that a reporter is on storm watch. He listens to the reporter who is standing in the street as plows pass by, as she grabs a passerby so they can tell the people at home to Stay indoors, it's dangerous outside. Roads are slippery, and so on. The news switches back to the studio reporters sitting at their desks as they describe how everyone is bracing for the increase in oil prices and that people are struggling to heat their homes this winter. The next story is one that he has seen for the last 15 years, 10 times a day. Terrorism is on the rise, or 30 dead from suicide bomber. Just when he's about to get out of bed, his favorite traffic girl lets him know just how bad the traffic is today. Carefully placed red marks along a picture of the highway shows just how bad his commute is about to be. He walks downstairs and reaches into the refrigerator and pours a tall glass of orange juice. He drinks it down, spiking his blood sugar level as he does every morning. Couple that spike in blood sugar with a stressful morning he has just lived through and the traffic jam he's about to endure, and that leads his body to release a stress hormone called cortisol, affecting his attention span, short-term memory, and mood stability. He gets into his car and heads to the city. He is immediately met with bumper-to-bumper traffic when he enters the highway. Horns are honking, people are yelling at each other to move. He drowns out the sound of this madness with his car radio. He listens to his favorite talk show personalities as they gossip about what happened on the latest reality show that aired last night. In between tirades by the talk show host, he is forced to listen to an obnoxious commercial by a local car dealership as they repeatedly shout out to the listeners that they are all approved. Good credit, bad credit, you're approved. Then he hears at the end of that ridiculous commercial a voice talking faster than any human being he has ever heard, as this voice disclaims everything he has just listened to in the commercial. When the man finally gets to his office, he sighs and says, without any regard for this autopilot conversation piece, "Good morning," to his secretary. And so his day begins. He is living in the Matrix. I'll leave the rest of this day to your imagination. But a point I'd like to make is that most people who experience days like this one relive them day after day. If a person lives to be 75 years old, that's about 27,000 days. When you choose to live the same day over and over, you are living one day. In this case, in hell, 27,000 times. I'm here to tell you that you can choose to live 27,000 days, each day different from the next. It's your choice. Because you've lived like this in the past, doesn't mean you have to live like this ever again. You can change this right now. As a matter of fact, the only time to make a change is now. The future hasn't happened yet, so making a plan to change in the future is you actually worrying about something that hasn't happened yet and may never happen. Think about the future as a debt you may never owe. Why pay interest today on a debt that you may never owe? That interest is the suffering you experience when your emotional body believes a story that you are telling yourself in your mind. If it's about a future event, then you are surely imagining the event, creating the story or future debt you may never owe, then paying the price for it, right here and now. If you're worrying or feeling guilty about something that has already occurred, then you are paying interest on a debt that you have already paid. Imagine paying off a car loan and then paying more interest for the rest of your life on that car loan that you've already paid. The past is over and done with, and it has no timeline. Our society teaches us that we must feel guilty when we say or do something that is outside of societal rules. Rules that were created by the very people in that matrix I described a few moments ago. People living in hell are making the rules, and we wonder why our lives are filled with negativity. Wayne Dyer put it this way: the past is like the wake of the boat. It's not the wake that drives the boat. To that I would add, the past is yesterday's garbage. Why in the world would I reach into yesterday's garbage to prepare today's meal? Feeling guilty about a past event, worrying about a future event, especially one that may never happen, is you living your life in the Matrix. A place where you are immobilized from doing exactly what it is that you want and have always wanted. Why are so many people living in the Matrix? I believe that most people do not know that they are creating their own reality. In their minds, life is happening to them rather than for them. We learn this and most of our beliefs as children from the adults in our lives. As children, we are forced to endure long days in a school system that teaches us that we are one of the labels that the system places on us, such as average, above average, advanced, athletic or not athletic, popular or not popular, and these labels follow us as we believe them and become exactly what others have decided about us, without ever knowing us. Children are being taught to memorize battle dates, other people's formulas, and knowledge, and then they are tested on this nonsense. Then they are labeled with a test score. Children are forced into sports that they have little to no interest in playing. Many times as their parents compete for water cooler stories of, "My child's team won the championship," or "My child's team was cheated." Many times there are children who are not playing at the same level as the other children on the team, and the parents put pressure on their children to compete. They even punish their child for missing a shot, striking out, or not being fast enough on the field. Did it ever occur to that parent that their child isn't interested in that or any sport? A child may dislike a particular sport that we, as parents, force him to play. His lack of interest leads to poor performance, but that child may be a brilliant musician or a creative writer, and he's being judged, labeled, and forced to suffer in order to fit into this competitive society he was raised in. If that child is out of his element and you judge or label him, it's like judging a fish on its ability to climb a tree. Try having a swimming contest with him instead. All of this push-pull stress becomes part of a person's life at a very young age. As Don Miguel Ruiz puts it, we live in this society. We grew up in this society, and we learn to be like everyone else, playing nonsense all the time. How do we get out of the Matrix? The ancestor to every action is a thought. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Take a look at anything in front of you right now. For me, it's my laptop computer. How did my laptop computer become what it is? The answer is with a thought. Someone, somewhere, envisioned this laptop computer at some point in time. Then he synchronized his energy in his body and his mind in a method called unity consciousness. Without that original thought, this laptop wouldn't be possible. This leads us to understand that what we think about, what we place our attention on, is what expands into our reality. When our mind is dominated with negative thoughts, conversations, and judgments, we create the very hell we experience in our reality. That hell is what I call the Matrix. The same way we can create the hell we have been living in, we can create heaven on earth. Yes, I said heaven. You don't have to wait to die in order to experience the conscious level that is heaven. You are connected to an energy that is greater than all of us. That which you came from, will return to, and have access to right now. Some people choose to call it God. It doesn't matter what you call it. The very God you have been seeking all of your life is within you, not outside of you. I am not suggesting that you change your beliefs about religion. I am not asking you to believe what I am telling you. I am asking you to remember. Remember what you have forgotten. As a fetus, you had everything you needed to survive. You had a knowing that you were perfect just as you were. There were no judgments and no gossip. No lies that you believed about yourself that became limits you set and then followed for the rest of your life. You didn't possess the properly credentialed medical doctor certificate, yet your heart knew exactly how to pump blood and nutrients into your body. Your kidneys knew exactly how to filter toxins. And this collective consciousness from which you came from was all you knew. For the first few years of your life, you trusted in this consciousness and your own intuition to guide you to see the truth. When you wanted to walk, you made the decision to get up and walk. When you fell, you didn't judge yourself. You got back up and soon you were walking. When other children did something that upset you, you cried. Then moments later, you let it go and you played again, never to think about that incident again. But somewhere along the way, you learned that the adults in your life have forgotten about this playful spirit. They took on serious faces, serious jobs, fancy titles, and they began to demand respect. They used punishment and reward to domesticate you to become an acceptable human being in their eyes. Their biggest mistake was interfering in your life. Instead of practicing non-interference, they chose to hand you your beliefs about everything. Your religion, your self-worth, your social status, and your limits were all handed to you by the adults in your life. And you continued to let this take you further out of the collective consciousness you once lived in, and has landed you directly in the Matrix. I want you to forgive your parents right now. I want you to forgive anyone who poured their beliefs into your mind. I want you to try to remember the worst memory you have as a child. For me, it was watching my father brutally assault my mother when I was just 3 years old. That was a scene I watched and internalized as a child many times. That, among other reasons, led me to fear my father and to hold a secret, long-lived hatred of him up until a few years ago. You see, I realized that I was hurting myself by not releasing my father's actions from my mind, from my heart. Holding on to that hatred and fear was like me holding in a hot mouthful of battery acid, just waiting to spit it back at him at some point. I realized that by holding this in, I was damaging my life, my internal organs, my sleep, and my peace. So, I forgave him. I said it out loud. Dad, I forgive you. I release you from my life and all that I have been holding inside of me. I release all of it. From now on, I send you love. And just like that, a weight that I had carried around on my back in the form of tension, headaches, and suffering was released forever. I realized that forgiveness was about me and not my father. What he has chosen to do in his life was his karma. How I decided to deal with it was mine. I extend this opportunity to you, anyone who has hurt you in the past. Forgive them right now. You don't have to speak with them or even let them know that you forgive them. but you have to release them from your life, from your back, your heart, and your dreams if you are to move forward. Leave their misdeeds and their hurtful words in your wake and start driving the boat right now. Your point of power over them is now. Remember, the past is over and the future doesn't yet exist. So you have no power in either of those dimensions that you keep replaying in your mind. It's like chasing ghosts. A ghost has no choice but to live in the past, but you are very much alive in this moment, the only moment that has ever mattered. Let's take the journey together right now to release all of the lies, the ghosts, and the negative layers that we have attracted in our lives that have created the smokescreen between the matrix and our true selves, our authentic selves, the happy wandering spirits we once were. Let's get out of this feeling of constant striving and never arriving to where we want to be in life. Maybe you are contemplating a career change, or maybe there's a business you've always wanted to open, a person you've always wanted to meet. There's a method to achieving all of those things, and it starts with your mind. Remember, what you place your attention on is what expands in your life. Here's how I changed my life of growing up poor, having the worst grades in my high school, a reputation of being a disturbing element in my classes, having brushes with the law, and living my first few months in college planning my own suicide. I decided that rock bottom was not the place for me, and if suicide was the alternative, I had nothing to lose by moving in the direction of my dreams, no matter what anyone thought of my pipe dream. The good news? It all came true. All of it. With all of the love in my heart, I will share with you exactly how to go from living in the matrix the way I did, as a troubled teen, to the CEO of an international company, a writer, and a person who lives each and every one of those 27,000 days in nothing but love. I can tell you that you are love. You are God. You are light. And everything else is just a dream. Here's the secret door to your exit out of the real matrix. The law of attraction and the dream of your life. All that will ever be is what is happening here. These are words from Jim Carrey in a speech he made some years ago. What he was referring to is that most of what happens in our lives is actually happening in our mind. Your mind dreams, which is its main function. You are dreaming when you are awake, and you dream when you are asleep. All day and night, there's a movie playing in your head. It's a movie, and you are the writer, director, and the star of that movie. In your movie, you assign roles to every person you know and encounter, and those people play their part. In your movie, they look, act, and sound a certain way, based upon your perception. If I were to walk into a dark movie theater that was completely empty, except for my wife sitting in the front row, then sit next to her, I could observe her dream, movie, from her perspective. In that dream, I would see people that resemble me, resemble her, and people we know. They would look completely different in her dream than in mine. For example, I might be skinny in her movie and speak with a very loud, obnoxious voice in her dream. In my dream, I speak quietly, and I'm not skinny. It's all perception. The reason for explaining this theory is because most of life is happening in your mind. Getting back to Jim Carrey's quote, all that will ever be is what is happening here. He's stating that nothing happens until something moves. You are creating the reality that you are living in. The good news is that using my movie theater example above, your reality is being created by you, for you. Everyone else is creating their reality as well. The Toltec call this the dream of the planet, the cumulative dream of all people. If we are creating our own dream, how do we control it? The answer is with your thoughts. The ancestor to every action is a thought. What you place your attention on is what expands or manifests in life. It's not simply the thought that makes this possible, but the feeling. Your emotional body reacts to your thoughts, and the results vary. You can, however, manifest exactly what you do not want by placing your attention on something you don't want. Unfortunately, it works both ways. Many people unknowingly choose to put their attention on what they do not want, by way of guilt and worry. Guilt over something that is over and done with, and worry about what is going to happen. The only place for those futile emotions to exist is in your own personal dream, and you can choose to let them go at any time. By placing your attention, thoughts, on something you do want in life, you are creating the catalyst to manifest it. There's a voice in your head. It has been there since you were born. That voice is constantly talking to you. But is it you? Don Miguel Ruiz calls it the voice of knowledge. Whatever you choose to call it, let's examine what it is telling you and how you are reacting to it. That voice is not known for telling the truth. It tells you things, and your emotional body reacts to what it says. When your emotional body reacts, you align yourself vibrationally with what you believe about yourself. Don Miguel Ruiz puts it this way: the only way to change your story is to change what you believe about yourself. If you clean up the lies you believe about yourself, the lies you believe about everybody else will change. Every time you change the main character of your story, the whole story changes to adapt to the new main character. How can you use this information moving forward? Start with an old saying that is actually backward. People say, "I'll believe it when I see it." The truth is, you'll see it when you believe it. You must align yourself with what you want in life. You must see yourself as having what you want, and you must feel the way you would if it were already true. You must believe it. My friend is a professional singer. She has a beautiful voice. She sings a few nights a week in different venues and makes a nice living doing what she loves. She is very talented, and since the day I met her, she had been waiting to be a singer. This was very confusing to me. I was speaking with her one day, and I had to say it over and over again until it finally clicked. You are already there. You are a star, and a great one. I told her, just the way I am telling you, that money, cars, and private jets are merely a side effect of your success, not the success itself. If you are doing what you love, doing your best with a pure heart, let go of the result. The universe will align itself to synchronize with your dream. This is how some of the most successful people in history got to where they are. It's called the law of attraction. You'll see above that I said pure of heart. What does that actually mean? It means when you do something, stop asking, what's in it for me? When I stopped asking, what's in it for Michael Evans, everything I ever wanted just showed up. This includes my very best friends I have today, most of which are unlikely matches to the outside person looking in. But that's okay, because that is their dream, their reality. Did you know that before Jim Carrey made it in show business, he understood all of these concepts I'm sharing now? He even wrote himself a $10 million check for acting services rendered and kept it in his wallet for a few years while he waited for that money to manifest. He visualized his success and aligned himself with his desire, and simply let go of the resistance that he himself created when he was younger. Many years ago, I did the same thing. I didn't write a check, but I became the CEO of a large international security firm, one that hadn't come to fruition yet, and I aligned myself with my desire to be who I am right now. The one thing I did not do is worry about what others thought of my choices. If you've read any of my books, you'll recognize the Gilbert K. Chesterton quote, "I owe my success to having listened respectfully to the very best advice, and then going away and doing the exact opposite." The world is full of people who are dreaming the dream of hell. The very thought of your success in their dream puts them deeper into hell. Look for the people who inspire you and accept your dream as your own. This will eliminate much of the outside resistance. The rest is up to you. I'll end this chapter with my own quote. This whole inherited idea called life is nothing more than a dream, but you believe it. There's nothing to worry about. That's a pretty big claim for me to make to someone who is suffering right now. What if I told you that suffering is a choice, and so many people unknowingly choose it? Not to be confused with pain, although people use pain and suffering in the same sentence as if it goes together automatically like peanut butter and jelly. Pain is a result of physical injury, while suffering is related to your mind, telling you something that leads your emotional body to react, and suffering is the result. In The Death of Ivan Ilyich, written by Leo Tolstoy in the 1800s, a famous quote emerged which was, "What if my whole life was wrong?" This was contemplated by the book's main character as he lay dying. I propose that same question to you. What if your whole life is wrong? How would you know? Let's examine a few areas of all of our lives and see where we might be a little off, or completely out of vibration with our purpose here on our breathtakingly short journey as humans. I started this chapter stating that there's nothing to worry about. There's a story I once read about a man named Jesse, similar to Ivan Ilyich, who was on his deathbed as he contemplated all of the suffering that he had endured in his life. As he defended his point of view about the suffering, he realized that most of the things he was defending never really happened to him. He suffered because he was conditioned to suffer by the people who taught him how to be a human, such as his parents, teachers, siblings, bosses, and friends. He was taught that there's not enough money in the world, that the more money and possessions you accumulate, the better, and that jealousy and gossip are normal. He was shown by his parents who argued that forgiveness is a sign of weakness. With all of those opinions about how he should live, he quietly took on his role as a worker somewhere, and he envied people who drove nice cars and lived in big houses. He could never make enough money, and his boss was always writing him to work harder. With all of this suffering, his point of view got so jaded that he hated everyone, including himself. In his mind, everyone was out to get him, and he was going to get the best of everyone first in this game that he played against himself in his mind. He couldn't be happy for anyone because he wasn't happy with himself. If his friend got a new car, it was like a dagger being pushed into his heart. Jesse felt pain as if the car had anything to do with him. In his mind, his friend getting a car was something that was happening to him, and he suffered as a result. Let's examine this as it is relevant in our society. Person A and Person B are married. Let's call them AB. Person C lives next door to AB. If persons AB live a lifestyle of relaxing in the pool together every day, and person C lives a life of 12-hour workdays in the blistering sun at a job he doesn't like, then person C has a choice. He can make a change or stay in his life that he doesn't like. Now person AB buys himself a new car. Person C has another choice. Be happy for them, be indifferent and have no thoughts or opinions about their car, or he can choose to suffer because of it. Mimetic programming by others, like Jesse, teaches person C to be jealous, to gossip, and to ultimately suffer when nothing happened. The point is, person C, acting on autopilot and from his training, chose to suffer. Now multiply that by all of the new cars, houses, vacations that person AB enjoy, and person C's suffering is never ending. His point of view is fear-based, and he can't possibly be happy for anyone, because he cannot give what he doesn't have: his own happiness. I often ask my children a question when I see them torturing themselves over the achievements of others. I ask, "Is there a wolf about to eat you?" The answer is always, "Of course not." To which I reply, "Then stop tricking your body into believing it." The body is programmed with a fight or flight response mechanism. Long before humans had houses, guns, and cities, we lived amongst animals that were higher on the food chain than we were. Take wolves, for example. If a human were to awaken to the sound of a wolf with its mouth watering and teeth glistening a few thousand years ago, our bodies would go into fight or flight or freeze mode. That stressful response was designed to keep us alive. Today, however, humans have learned to use this mechanism against themselves. We create the wolves in our mind by our perception of events outside of us, which in turn creates the physiological reaction on our emotional bodies. We call it stress, and we accept that stress is a part of life. Then comes the need for medication, alcohol, and drugs to numb ourselves from the wolves that we have and continue to create in our minds. About 20 years ago, in my first police academy, I sat on the first day, nervously waiting for the academy to start. There were about 30 trainees in the classroom. Suddenly, the door burst open, and a masked man runs into the room, yells for everyone to sit down and be quiet. He then grabbed some papers from the desk and ran out. 1 minute later, an academy instructor entered the room and handed us all a sheet of paper and a pen. Our assignment was to accurately describe exactly what had just occurred. I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to ace this assignment. I went on to write about the suspect who broke into the school, wearing a mask, and committed larceny and then fled. I described his clothing, his height, weight, and his voice, accent, etc. When the instructor read all of our narratives out loud, it occurred to me that there were 30 different stories being told, and some of them were so far off from the story I wrote. Some trainees saw the masked man as a person who is sick and wore a mask for their protection against bacteria, and others didn't even see a mask. There were some trainees that didn't see any crime being committed, and others who saw an egregious criminal act. The lesson learned at that time, as an officer interviewing witnesses, you will likely get a different story from each one. Now take that example and multiply it by the 7+ billion people on the planet, all perceiving things from their own point of view. The next time someone doesn't agree with you on something, try to remember that they are seeing things from their point of view. I've written in earlier chapters that your mind is dreaming all of the time. You are casting, writing, directing, and starring in your own story in your own mind. Your point of view is the camera angle from which you always see and perceive things. It is from this point of view you have another choice: the track of love or the track of fear. In the track of fear, everything you perceive through your lens is ugly, sad, and depressing. In this track, jealousy and envy dominate your point of view. In the track of love, you no longer hold on to those self-defeating ideas and thoughts. You perceive everything with love in yourself and others, always. Going back to my police academy assignment, I put myself into this law enforcement mindset where everything looked like a crime and everyone looked like the good guy or the bad guy. I made the choice to have that mindset, and my brain filled in the blanks to my story. I perceived everything as good or bad, and my knowledge created the smoke in between me and the mirror of virtual reality that I was observing. Knowledge and truth are not synonymous. They never were. You can learn a lot of other people's math formulas, content from history books, and right or wrong, and it's just knowledge. It's only true when you agree with it. And even then, it's only true for you. A child sits in a classroom and his teacher places a hot dog in front of him. The teacher says, "This is a hot dog." The child, being 5 years old, sees this object for the first time in his life. He asks, "What is this made of?" The teacher replies, "Actually, it's head meat, fatty tissue, blood, liver, and other parts trimmed from animals, then rolled up and cooked, but we call it a hot dog." The child asks, "Why isn't it called head, meat, fatty tissue, blood, liver, and other parts trimmed from animals, then rolled up and cooked?" The teacher rolls her eyes, and the child is given a poor performance evaluation because he didn't understand that the atrocity in front of him was a hot dog, by majority vote of the people in the world who choose to label things. Is it really a hot dog? Is knowledge really the truth? Is the story in your mind and your perception and the labels put on things really the truth? Marijuana is a plant. For many years, I was convinced that it was a drug because the FDA labeled it such, and the law, written by humans, made this natural plant illegal. I made the choice to agree with this knowledge, and as a law enforcement officer, I actively pursued users and sellers of this plant and arrested them. From my point of view, I was getting the bad guys. Don't get me wrong. There were some instances, especially when people would drive under the influence, when they needed to be stopped and dealt with. But the others were merely doing what millions of other people do with alcohol, numbing themselves from the suffering caused by the emotional reaction to the story in their minds. Now, as marijuana is being legalized more and more, we are asked to look at marijuana differently, when nothing has changed. Marijuana hasn't changed, the effects haven't changed. Only the knowledge has changed. With this shift in knowledge comes the shift in your point of view to match the majority of other people's points of view. Now you're normal to think marijuana is acceptable, whereas if you said that last year, you were looked upon cross-eyed. This same theory comes up when the topic of sex is being discussed. While we are all humans with the same reproductive system, the age at which people may legally have sex varies, and the ages may surprise you. In Albania, Germany, Austria, and Italy, a 14-year-old male or female can legally have sex with anyone of any age when they consent to do so. Therefore, in these countries, it is socially acceptable to notice a 14-year-old girl and think or say she is pretty. Now, if a man in New York were to say that out loud, he would be labeled a pedophile by his peers. And if he were to act on that, he would be arrested, jailed, and labeled a sex offender for the rest of his life. Humans create knowledge, then expect you to shift your point of view to accept it. They create labels and expect you to memorize them and agree with them. A hot dog is not necessarily a hot dog. Marijuana is not necessarily a drug. Is everyone in these other developed and modern countries wrong? Are the people of Uruguay criminals when they smoke a joint? I started this chapter by saying there's nothing to worry about. I'd like to change that up a little and say, there's nothing to defend. Just like Ivan Illich and Jesse in the examples above, life is just that. Life. On your short journey on this planet, make the choice not to suffer. See things for what they really are and drop labels. And for Pete's sake, know the difference between the thought of a wolf about to eat you and an actual wolf about to eat you. The first will save your life on the spot, and the latter will save you from all of those terrible things that never really happen anyway. Getting off of autopilot. The average person is awake for 960 minutes per day. Did you know that the subconscious mind dominates 95% of your thinking throughout the day? That's 912 of 960 minutes when you're acting on autopilot. You're not deliberately thinking. If you're on autopilot, where did the information in your subconscious come from? The answer may surprise you. The information in your subconscious was programmed by the teachers in your life, mostly when you were a child. When I say teachers, I'm not necessarily talking about school teachers, although they are included. Your teachers in life that supplied the information to your subconscious mind are the adults, parents, older siblings, friends, etc. As a child, beginning in the womb, you learn to be like your teachers and to accept what these teachers say and do as truth. This information is like a download in our brain. These downloads are known as memes. Memes are ideas that are spread from one person to another. Memes form the basis of knowledge from which you perceive things. Your perception is therefore impacted by beliefs that were never yours to begin with. Picture a 5-year-old child at the beach with her parents. Mom and Dad are having an intense argument about money and their bills when the little girl asks her dad to build a sandcastle with her. He ignores her, so she asks again and again. He finally replies in a loud voice, "No! Can't you see the adults are talking?" The little girl just learned a painful lesson, that she is not good enough to speak when adults are talking. This becomes a meme, an autopilot download of knowledge that will be recalled during her lifetime in that 95% of time when she is on autopilot. At age 6, the same girl asks her parents if she can take dance lessons. Her parents tell her that she is not coordinated enough to dance, and she will embarrass herself if she tries. 2 more memes are downloaded for future use while on autopilot. I'm not coordinated, and if I try to do something outside of my comfort zone, I will be embarrassed. This list of memes goes on and on. Most of the memes you are programmed with are not even true, but you believe them. The Toltecs referred to the subconscious dominant mind activity as a dream. If we agree with that, then we must agree that we are dreaming all of the time. Remembering the two examples of how memes are programmed into a child's mind for use throughout their lives, then we can clearly see that their dream is not necessarily true. Our perception of events outside of us are guided by the knowledge, memes, programmed by adults when we were children. Our reactions to those events, guided by our perception, led by our knowledge, leads to physiological responses in our emotional body. As I have explained before, the emotional body reacts with a fight or flight stress mechanism, which in turn sends masses of blood to the arms and legs. When that blood is distributed in this manner, the visceral organs are stripped of the blood that carries the nutrients necessary for growth and proper function. Therefore, being in a constant state of stress, which is really a fight or flight state, will significantly impact your physical health, stunt your growth, and ultimately take years off of your life. You've all heard of the sixth sense. Some of you do not believe that there is a sixth sense. I'm here to tell you the sixth sense is really your first sense. Earlier, I spoke about the fact that the fight or flight response draws blood from your visceral organs. You can physically feel that happening. Right now, close your eyes and picture yourself standing on the world's tallest building. Picture yourself leaning over the edge on a windy day and suddenly slipping, and you begin to free fall to certain death. Notice the feeling in your body, the apparent drop in blood pressure, and the tingling you get in your arms and in your belly. That is your body's fight or flight response. Now you know what it feels like, and that you can bring it on by merely thinking of a stressful situation. With this awareness, you can now pay attention to your emotional body's reaction to situations. That awareness is known as intuition. With intuition, you pay close attention to your body's reaction to people, events, and ideas. Intuition is your sixth sense. If you make it your first sense, you will begin to hone in on the collective intelligence that you've dismissed in the name of superstitious phenomena. Pay close attention to your intuition and let it lead you. Use your other five senses to support your intuition. When you begin to focus on this task, you begin to deliberately think, taking yourself off of autopilot and arriving right here and now. As for the memes, the only way to change them is to dismiss your attachment to them. This is done deliberately and will take time and practice. In order to clear your mind, you must let go of the beliefs that you never really chose to believe in the first place. There's an excellent book that I recommend if you want to know and understand this process. It's called The 5 Levels of Attachment by Don Miguel Ruiz, Jr. The Real Butterfly Effect. Every left, every right, every pause in your breath for your entire existence has changed the world for every human being in it. Michael Evans. A Little League baseball player stands at bat in front of a crowd of parents and other spectators. It's the bottom of the 9th inning and the count is full. 3 balls, 2 strikes, and the game is tied. The bases are loaded with 2 outs. The child pitching takes an extra 10 seconds before he throws the pitch. The batter nervously awaits the pitch. If that batter swings and misses, the game goes into extra innings and can last for several minutes to an hour. If he swings and gets a base hit, the game is over. What happens next will change the world forever. Yes, I said, the world, forever. Let's examine this theory. Let's assume on the same evening of this Little League game, the batter won the game for his team by hitting a single. The parents gather their kids' equipment and head to their cars. Let's also assume that it's 5 p.m. when they leave the parking lot. On their way home, the batter's father stops at a red light and then proceeds at the green light at 5:02:07 p.m. 7 seconds. Just then, a driver in an oncoming vehicle decides to try to beat the red light on his side and ends up striking the Little League player's car on his dad's side, killing the dad. Many of the evening's activities contributed to this accident. It's obvious that I will point out that the pitcher taking an extra 10 seconds to deliver the pitch contributed to the timing of the accident, which couldn't have occurred had the timing not been precisely 5:02:07 p.m. I will leave it to you to decide if this accident would have been possible if the child had struck out and the game would have gone into extra innings, or if his dad would have stopped to say hello to another parent on his way to the car. The fact is, the game had very little to do with the outcome that night. Although it seems on the surface that the decision made by the dad to take a certain route home and the decision of the driver to pass the red light were the ultimate cause of the accident, the truth is that we all contributed, even you. Every left, every right, every single step you have taken, every pause, every conversation has changed the world. Think about it. The moment you met your husband or wife couldn't have happened if you hadn't lived your life precisely as you did from the moment you were born. More than that, if I hadn't lived my life exactly as I did, you may have never met your significant other 3,000 miles away. We are all acting in concert to fulfill each other's destinies. That concert is known as the universe. Break it down. Uni, one. Verse, song. We are all singing the one song that moves the wind and makes the flowers grow. That song is in me, you, everyone, and everything. Without it, your body is just water, blood, and bones. Because we are all acting in concert, it becomes clear that we are all connected. Humans have forgotten this. We feel disconnected from other people, the earth, animals, and nature, when we are all of those things. On a molecular level, we are all the same atoms vibrating at different levels to orchestrate the virtual reality that we perceive. The fact that you are alive today is no mistake. The universe is perfect, so mistakes are not real. They never were. Each person plays a vital role in the universe. What you may have perceived as a mistake made it possible for you to be right here and now. In other chapters, I have spoken about the law of attraction. Knowing that the universe is the one song we are all singing and understanding the law of attraction, you begin to understand that what you tell the universe is what the universe provides for you. Just the other day, a young man walked into the gym where I train. On his arm was a tattoo that read, FTW. Fuck the world. With that point of view, how could he ever expect to be happy, successful, or at peace? You better believe that the universe says it back to him, with traffic jams, collection agents, arrests, stress, etc. How does this tie into the butterfly effect? The negative energy from the FTW guy ripples through the universe at the same speed as positive energy, thus creating the push-pull ebb and flow of all our realities. That only proves that the world can heal itself if we all conspire to make it happen, minus the FTW point of view. It starts with you. Do your best without expectation of outcome, and then let go of the result. If we all do this, then we can confidently move in the direction of our dreams and know that we are properly setting the stage for generations to come. When we do our best, pure of heart, following our intuition, we will know that we played our part in the universe and the butterfly effect, thereby eliminating the theory and ultimate possibility of regret from our futures. As Andy Andrews put it in his book, The Butterfly Effect, How Your Life Matters, you have been created in order that you might make a difference. You have within you the power to change the world. To that, I would add, so go confidently in the direction of your dreams, within the track of love, because everyone and everything depends on you. The death of your old self. If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. William Blake. The life you lived up until now, let's refer to it as the morning of your life, is over. The morning is over, and it's time to step into the afternoon of your life. The old you is dead. But let's redefine death. You are an infinite being, so you never die. At least not in the sense that most people think. There's a story in Deepak Chopra's book, Life After Death, Burden of Proof. And in the storyline, while Savitri asked a monk how she could beat death to save her husband, he told her to stop believing in rumors. He said, "The only reason you believe that you were born is that your parents saw you emerge from the womb. They thought they witnessed the moment when you began to exist, so they spread the rumor that you had been born." Think about it for a minute. Look for a picture of yourself as a child. You'll see that the child in the picture has long since existed. The body you have been occupying in your human experience will surely cease to exist one day. The good news is the energy. The collective consciousness that you are is limitless, endless, and can never die. In the beginning of this book, I suggested that you may be a liar. You have been lying to yourself, to everyone around you, all the time. I want you to take a moment and think about the roles you have been playing throughout your life. Husband, wife, brother, sister, boyfriend, girlfriend, student, teacher, worker, boss, friend, enemy, coach, player, mentor, actor, and so on. Now look at your social media profiles and compare that projected image that you portray to each one of the roles you play in life. You'll see that you play so many roles, but none of the roles is your true self. These are only images that you project. The images you project are different from the images people see when they receive your image. So, therein creates another lie. The outside image of each one of your roles creates the avatar that nobody really knows. And up until now, neither did you. When you look closely at this, you'll notice that nobody really knows who you are. It's time to let go of the worry of what others think about you. Let go of the roles you play in your life and start living from your intuition, from your source, your heart, and let go of the need to be right. You'll see that your reputation is nothing but a made-up story in your mind. Once you let go of the idea that you have a reputation, you have nothing to live up to. It's like moving to a new school district as a child, where nobody knows you. You can start over without living up to the reputation you carried around with you your whole life. It's time to start sending love to everyone and everything. Send love in response to hate. It's the only way to stop negative energy in its tracks. The only way for you to send love is to realize something I mentioned in the beginning of this book. I said, you don't know what you are. So I will end this book with a quote from The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. You will notice that you are not the dream, not the mind, and if you go deeper, you start noticing that you are not the soul either. Then what you find out is so incredible. You find out that what you are is a force that makes it possible for your body to live, a force that makes it possible for your whole mind to dream. Without you, without this force, your body would collapse on the floor. Without you, your whole dream just dissolves into nothing. What you really are is that force that is life. Life is not the body. It is not the mind. It is not the soul. It is a force. Through this force, a newborn baby becomes a child, a teenager, an adult. It reproduces and grows old. When life leaves the body decomposes and turns to dust. You are life passing through your body, passing through your mind, passing through your soul. You find out that you are the force that makes the flowers open and close, that makes the hummingbird fly from flower to flower. You find out that you are in every tree, you are in every animal, vegetable, and rock. You are the force that moves the wind and breathes through your body. The whole universe is a living being that is moved by that force, and that is what you are. You are life.
Within a life of many days, on borrowed time and counted breaths, by sorts of fear we hide and cower. It's time to wait, never too late. something only you can do. Courage and strength will speak to you. With each new day, embrace your story. It's time to wait, never too late to taste the truth. Heal the pain inside you. It's not too late, not too late to taste the truth. You can see the light. Feel it come alive. Within a life of many days, on borrowed time and counted breaths, by sorts of fear we hide and cover. It's time to